Okay, are you ready? Are you ready? All right, guys, what's happening? Blazing Press BP News channel once again live with you, giving you the updates and the intel before it actually happens. We just want to make sure you guys have a heads up on what's going on here in the world and looking at some of the posts that are coming out now and official messaging that's being I don't know. It's like preparing everybody. I think. I don't think a whole lot of people are aware of it yet, but we're about to go back to war here with Iran. Iran is. We are definitely steeped into this headlong. And I'm talking about America, USA. We are definitely steeped in, and we're going to start probably involving. I don't know for sure, but I just think that with the information that's now coming out, it looks like we're going to be right in the middle of it. So, and it's already that we already are. I mean, we're already one and the same with all the things that Israel has done, and how we've kind of backed and supported and armed and funded everything that Israel is. It's really an extension of what our policy is in the Middle East. So it's not like we're being pulled into something. We've already been, we're tied at the hip anyway. A lot of people are saying, well, we're funding this and we're supporting this, and yeah, outwardly it would not be good. I mean, it might be better if we didn't get too involved. But by supplying bunker busters, which is what they're planning to do now, supplying bunker busters. We're going to go through the information right now in just a moment. I just wanted to take some time before we do dive into this to thank everybody that does support the channel, that is a part of the membership, and that whether it's this channel or our BP Ministries channel or our Patreon channel, we want to just give a big thank you, and we're going to be giving away a big prize here in the next 2 days on the 4th of July. Yes, we're going to do it on the 4th, and we're going to spin that wheel, and somebody's going to get I call it the big beautiful bug out bag. Big beautiful bug out bag in a celebration of the big beautiful bill not passing the House. I don't think it's going to pass, but it did pass the Senate. But I don't think it's going to pass the House, and thank God for somebody in there that's pushing back on this. But in celebration of that, we're going to be pushing and giving away. I'm not going to say push because we're going to be giving away this big beautiful bug out bag. And the last one we gave away was, we had one winner, and his name is Taylor Bennett. I don't know if Taylor is in the house. Taylor, are you out there? But he won the one from last month, and we're going to be doing that once every month. And we also have a lot of other things that you get for being a part of the support of our channel through membership. Dorinda is a part of that. English is also a part of that. Let's see who else is out here in the David Craig, also a big supporter of what we do here. Thank you, David. And there's a few others out there. We know you're out there. But this is going to be a wheel spin, just like we did during the COVID, where we would spin the wheel and everybody give away masks and stuff. So we're going to be doing that. And hopefully you guys one of you out there gets it. I'm sure one of you will. And Elizabeth says, Senator Ron Johnson flip-flopped on the big, beautiful bill. What? Are you kidding me? So are you talking about, is that, a senator? Yeah, the senator. Yeah, the Senate law, it basically passed. So let's go ahead and get into the info. It's just a quick update. It's definitely something that everybody should be aware of. And I'm sure everybody's going to be talking about it here in the next, few hours, 24, 48 hours. It's going to become the big news story. I think they may do it this weekend, or they might try to surprise and do it sooner. I don't know. I think it's going to be an escalation that will probably lead to a massive retaliation, and who knows if it's going to entail bunker busters or nukes, because I don't even think a bunker buster can reach. I just don't think it can reach the facility that is underground unless it's a nuke. They even said that our big bunker busters wouldn't reach. So, we're just going to hand Israel these bunker busters or what? I don't know. But let's get into the info. God bless you too, English. Thank you so much. Give that a like. I give it a heart. Thank you very much there, brother. All right, so let's get into this. So over here at our Telegram page, and if you're not a part of the Telegram page, our Telegram page is busting out at the seams, so you want to make sure you're a part of that. Everything is over there on that Telegram Intel page, secret confidential information. When you are a member, you definitely do get secret intel operations from the back channels of the Most High. The Lord Most High gives us a heads up. Don't you know? Don't you know? If you're from Canada especially. Let me see if I can get my page here. Where's my page? All right, there we are. All right, now, where am I? I should be on here somewhere. Oh, there I am. All right, so we're going to be going through some of this info here. All right, so look at what's going on. Iran is now closing its airspace. This is just now happening. Closes its western and central airspace to all civilian air traffic until tomorrow. So could something happen between now and tomorrow? Now, by the way, my lights are kind of blinking here, and we got lots of wind. So if my system happens to go offline or the feed quits, you know what happened. My lights went out. I'm just giving you that heads up just in case. I got a little flickering lights. I went outside and there was a lot of wind. I don't know if it's like leftovers from what just happened in Las Vegas, but did you see what happened in Las Vegas? What is going on in Las Vegas? What I don't understand is how only the telephone poles fell down. Telephone poles are usually not really the thing that falls down. It's usually trees and houses get blown apart. But it's like for miles, telephone poles just broke off in half and just are laying in the middle of the street. I don't know if you saw that. We're going to look at that too in a minute. But Iran now is closing its western and central airspace. Not sure if they're going to be doing some kind of test. Maybe they're going to be doing some kind of new missile test, potentially. Who knows if they have nukes now? Some speculated that these recent transport plane deliveries from China and even Russia could have been tactical nuke warheads that could have been fitted right on those missiles. They can get that stuff delivered to them. You know that, right? And you even know Putin made a threat about nuclear warheads. Do you remember that? And Trump responded to him. I think it was like a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. And Trump responded and said, chided Putin and said, why would you use the N-word? And then he kind of threatened back, because that's a threat to us directly, especially if Putin or some other state actor that has nukes decides to give a few warheads to Iran. And all they would have to do is just put that right there on the top of one of those hypersonic missiles, and now you have a lethal, very large munition that could do great damage to anywhere in the Middle East, really, because those things can reach out, a couple thousand kilometers. So is Iran planning to test something here or what? I don't know. I'm just speculating that it's going to either be a test or maybe they're going to start launching missiles. So this just happened until tomorrow. So maybe there's going to be something go down here in the next few hours. Lawmakers are now proposing B-2s and bunker busters to Israel if Iran resumes nuclear program, which they said they're going to. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of, are they doing it right now? Are they actually in the process of renewing their program or fixing their bunker, or not their bunkers, but their facilities that are underground? It looks like they've moved a lot of heavy equipment in there. They've reopened the tunnels, and things are going in and out. All they had to do was fix the tunnel system, I'm sure, because that's the only thing that I think was damaged. And I told you that was probably what happened. It was just going to only damage, maybe the tunnel system in a few areas that are that they have like a stair system. Like, it's like they've got blast doors. They probably have 4 or 5 blast doors before you get into the main section that's deep. And those blast doors can withstand huge amounts of impact. And I was just looking at a bunker in the U.S., just doing a little research on bunkers, and they talk about these bunkers, missile silos that had bunker systems within them, and they're abandoned. But they show pictures and things. But they talk about how they would have 7,000-pound blast doors there, and it would be 3 of them in consecutive, back to back, or there's a distance between each one, but you have to open up each one, go through another one, go through another one. So when you have that impact of a massive ordnance, and who knows, nuke, because these are made for surviving nuclear blasts, that it would, maybe if it did penetrate the first blast door, it might barely kind of compromise the second blast door, but it surely won't go through the third blast door. And that would actually keep you from any kind of, damage down below. So you got to wonder exactly how they structured these, how they built these deep underground facilities. They took into consideration the only reason they built them was because of the U.S. threat. It was built in light of U.S.'s capabilities of taking out underground facilities. That's why, and that's how come they built it the way they did. So if they took into consideration that, unless we have some new weapons that can get even deeper, the only thing that can possibly penetrate, I would think, would be nukes. But even then, can't even a nuke get that deep? Maybe this facility's door is 300 meters deep, but when you talk about going into the depths of the actual facility itself, it could be 1,000 feet deep. It could be, 600-700 feet deep. I don't think even a nuke can get that low, unless they blow out the actual entrance. And this is the way they say they would do it, is they would drop bombs and then another one behind it and another one behind that one. And basically they just kind of bore down into the facility itself through a door and just keep blasting until they get deeper and deeper and deeper. And then they send a nuke down in there. So once they kind of bore through, then behind that comes a nuke. Now, that is a possibility, but who knows if that works or not. Listen to this. Iran has made preparations to lay mines in the Strait of Hormuz in case of any renewed aggression. So there is this awareness, I think, in Iran right now that there's going to be aggression renewed. And this is why they're preparing, and they're putting out that message that, hey, we're going to stop all oil flow to the world if there is any kind of retaliation, or if there's any kind of renewed conflict between Israel and the United States and Iran. So this is what they would do: shut down the Strait of Hormuz. That could be a major, major event if that were to take place. Iran's president said today that they are suspending the country's cooperation with the IAEA, which is the Atomic Energy International Atomic Energy something. What does that stand for? It stands for International Atomic Energy Agency, which is what I thought it was, but It says that yeah, everybody in the world is subject to the IAEA except Israel. Even though Israel has 200 plus nuclear warheads, according to some reports, they're not subject to any kind of inspections, any kind of verifications, nothing. But other countries around the world, yes, they have to submit to this IAEA and their regulations, right? Not good. This is what is causing major tensions, is that I don't know if you saw the debate between Dinesh D'Souza, I think that's how you say his name, and he's pretty well known, especially in the MAGA camp, and Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes, very articulate, very young, only 26 years old, but very articulate, very knowledgeable historically, or at least his arguments are espoused by many, especially the younger generation, but many people that are older too follow him. I know a guy, and who knows if he's watching me. He's up there in his in age, and he listens to Nick Fuentes. He told me about, hey, you ever watch Nick Fuentes? I said, yeah, I watched Nick Fuentes. I was actually on his platform a while there. He has like a video platform. I was actually on there for a little bit, but definitely interesting commentary and debate on the whole topic of Israel, Iran, what's going on with this war, and how we're basically stuck in a quagmire now. We're actually up to our eyeballs now in this, and it's going to probably be worse than anything that's ever happened, including Iraq and Afghanistan. So you guys better be prepared for something much worse than what happened in previous administrations. I hope you're ready for that, especially all you MAGA people that are all excited about what's happening. Things are not going to turn out as you expect. Let's see what else we got here. Kind of go through some other news here. Congressman Thomas Massie says that he has enough votes to block President Trump's one big, beautiful bill in the House, according to Politico. And I hope it does get blocked because there's a lot of garbage in that bill. And I'm not saying that there aren't some good things in there, but they always want to push in the bad stuff to get that bill passed. You know what I'm saying? To get a bill passed, to sneak in a bunch of, stuff that you don't want in there. It's kind of like, oh, the food is great. It's amazing, but there's a whole bunch of mRNAs in there that they don't eat. Now they don't want to tell you what's in that. They want to scrub the name mRNA off the official sites, right? They don't want that term there anymore because it's scary now. Everybody's knows what this is, right? But it's still going to be involved. They're still going to be pushing this new technology under the Trump administration, and yet they don't want that name out there. They want to kind of scrub it off of the health sites. Smoke and mirrors. What do they call that? The shell game. They don't want you to know. They're trying to sell you a lemon. Car sales, like a car salesman. Oh, did you see Trump's new fragrances? Oh, isn't that amazing? I think when I think of car salesman, I always think of Trump because he's always trying to hawk some kind of new product as president. I never seen a president that would hawk so many things that like this. Let me see if I can find this. Look at this. This is perfect right here. The handwriting is on the wall. I'm sorry. But here it is. So on the left there is from the video that was posted on social media, and a lot of MAGA people and supporters were saying, oh, that was an AI video. It was just in fun. He doesn't really think of himself as some golden statue. Oh, yes, he does. Oh, yes, he does. This is his new fragrance right here. That only confirms once again that Trump loves himself and thinks of himself as some kind of idol. I mean, look at this. Let me just show you what it looks like here. And this is Trump posting this. This is so this is his own new line of cologne. And as a Christian, you know that Trump loves golden idols of himself. He had a golden idol at one of his campaigns in the early days. And then there was another idol that's bronze that's at one of his golf courses. I don't know if you saw that one. I'm surprised that they have that one up because it. Anyways, so this is the video here that everybody was aghast at because Trump had posted it, and many tried to make excuses. But here is the actual fulfillment of that golden idol that he thinks of himself as being. This is his new victory cologne. It's reminiscent of Nebuchadnezzar's golden statue where they told everybody to bow down and worship it. This is it. This is his new Trump cologne. Trump fragrances are here. They're called Victory 45 and 47 because they're all about winning, strength, and success. For men and women, get yourself a bottle and don't forget to get one for your loved ones. Trump cologne. Isn't that amazing? But anyways, I'm just saying the only reason I brought that up is because we've got this new Gaza Disneyland that they're going to build. It's called the Riviera in the Mediterranean. And Trump is overseeing this. He's overseeing this project because, you know, he's a builder and he's a deal maker. And he's roped in a bunch of Islamic countries and promised them a little portion and a little piece of the pie in order to bring peace. And not only to kick the Palestinians out and all their land that they own, having them taken care of by some other, country like Egypt. I forget which country's supposed to take them in, but you've got millions of people displaced because lo and behold, the whole strip has been completely leveled, uninhabitable. Everybody that lived there was Hamas and needed to be extricated, including women and children. And you're talking about 100,000 plus people dead. I know that there weren't 100,000 Hamas fighters. I know that. So, what does this mean? You're talking about women and children. You're talking about tens of thousands of women and children that were killed because they were innocently used as human shields. So if you have a human shield, do you shoot the human shield as a good citizen, as a good soldier even? If you're in a war and someone is holding a human shield in front of them, do you shoot the human shield? Is that a yes or a no? Or do you try to somehow get around that human shield and, save innocents in the process? Or do you just wholesale, just Dresden style, bomb them into oblivion? Or Nagasaki them, or Hiroshima them? Just drop an A-bomb on the whole place. Why not? It's probably easier that way. And then we can rebuild our Riviera in the Mediterranean with Trump Towers, Trump Gaza Towers, and then free money for all. We'll just start throwing money up at the air and have dancing, bearded dancing belly dancer men. I don't know if you saw the video. It was in the video. You got to see the video. If you didn't see the video, that's just Trump reposting his crazy, weird, sick fantasy of what he thinks is going to be. A Trump portrait that Trump himself endorsed looks pretty ominous and stern. And I would say, as the Bible says, would be I think it's called I think it said it, he has a stern, a fierce countenance. He has a fierce countenance, according to the Bible. And if this is truly him, but it's just very strange. I mean, look. So he chose, now, yeah, the one on the left does look a little younger version of him, maybe a little porkier. I mean, he does love McDonald's, so maybe that, but it doesn't look as accurate, I would say, and I understand why he didn't like that first one. But I don't know why he would pick the second one. The second one, first of all, he's very orange there. I know he does like orange. He has that tanning stuff that he puts on. I have no idea why he does that. But he doesn't look very healthy there, or it makes him look older and meaner and maybe goblin-esque, a little goblin-y. If you ask me, looks a little goblin-y to me. I know MAGA's having a hard time with this, but it's okay. You'll get through this, I'm sure. Just take a little chill pill, maybe take a little sip of coffee, and just sit back and count to 10. Look at the evidence. Look at the actual facts. People like, everybody says Palantir. No, Alex Jones trying to tamp down that whole criticism of Palantir. No, Palantir is definitely the brains behind everything that's happening here. And people like this guy here, the CEO, Alex Karp. I mean, if you just sit and listen to Peter Thiel and Alex Karp and what they're all about and the way they perceive this, you would be horrified that this is something that's actually happening in the United States. I mean, this was already used on the battlefield in Gaza. This is why they killed so many people, because they used AI-generated targets and weapons to coordinate these attacks on civilians, anyone that in any way was connected via social media, cell phone. This is all in real time, too. That's what Palantir is all about. It's about making kill lists. And if you didn't understand that, maybe you should listen to the Palantir CEO in his own words. How about that? You want to hear it? All right. Can you handle this? Because this is the people that Trump is posting and keeping very close to him, and then it's having all this investment. We're talking about $500 million in all this technology. I'm sorry. No, $500 billion, because it's $500 billion. We're talking $500 billion investment. Okay, so just listen.
Americans are the most loving, God-fearing, fair, least discriminatory people on the planet. And they want to know that if you're waking up and thinking about harming American citizens, or if American citizens are taken hostage and kept in dungeons, or if you're a foreign power sending fentanyl to poison our people, something really bad is going to happen to you and your friends and your cousins and your bank account and your mistress and whoever was involved. And, when Americans are spending $1 trillion on defense, what I want and what I think my peers want is, why are these people keeping our citizens hostage, torturing our people, attacking our allies, maligning us in what was once called the United Nations, basically a discriminatory institution against anything good? We need to stand up, and those people need to be scared. And that's why this conference is so important, because we have the best products in the world, and we cannot have parity. Our adversaries do not have our moral compunction. If it's even, they will take advantage of our niceness, kindness, our desire to be at home in Nebraska or New Hampshire or wherever we live in our peaceful environments. And they need to wake up scared and go to bed scared. And if you give that to the American people will go back and say, and honestly, probably shouldn't say this is why I thought the Democrats were going to lose the election, why they did, because people want to live in peace. They want to go home. They do not want to hear your woke pagan ideology. They want to know they're safe. And safe means that the other person is scared. That's how you make someone safe. And the average American person understands this. Unfortunately, many of the
You want to be safe, so we're going to take away your freedoms just like we did with the Patriot Bill. Make it sound really good, right? Patriot Bill, but yet take away all your freedoms. You're going to be safe. But this technology is going to also be used on you. But we're not really telling you that because it's going to keep you safe. Yeah. And then when we have political enemies and we have all the power and all the software and all the technology to track you in real time, find out everything that you're saying in real time, and target you in real time because of your political views or your speech that may not be approved. And this is exactly what's going to happen. And this guy, I don't know, how he's trying to sell this to everybody, but he's trying to make it seem like, oh, yeah, this is on your side. You're the one that's in the power seat. You're the one that this is not going to be used against. It's going to be used against everybody and everybody except you, right? You really believe that? You really believe that? Come on now.
Intellectually captured institutions funneled and intellectually owned by the Berkeley faculty do not. And that's what they want. It's sure as hell what I want. And that's what Palantir and all the people in this room, I hope, we're here to serve the American people. And my version of service is the soldiers are happier, the enemies are scared, and Americans go back to enjoying the fact that we're the only one with a real tech scene in this country, and we're going to win everything. That's how I see it.
We're the only one with the tech scene. We're the only one with the tech scene in this country, and we're the only one. I mean, I love the way he's so animated. Like, we're the only one who got this power to kill people. I mean, like he's been on camera talking about how his software does kill people. Yeah, that's what he says. We do make products that kill people. And why is this products being used in wars like Ukraine and Gaza and West Bank and now here in America? What is it for? Oh, it's for the illegals, right? It's for the illegals to keep us safe from illegals. I just think that they're using a lot of this this was almost like it was premeditated, all these terrible events that obviously the left was the reason for why it happened, right? They allowed this to happen. And I say they, the overarching, controlling puppet masters up there that control both parties. They wanted it to go to extreme left. They allowed it to go this far so that everybody would be like beside themselves, losing their minds because of all this LGBTQ craziness, transgender, rioting in the streets, burning down, corruption up to the high heavens, no trust in your voting, your elections. Everything has to become so extreme, so very corrupt to the very hilt that when it boomerangs back to the right, everybody goes along with it because they're so terrified as where the country is gone, where the country has been and where it's gone in just a short time. And miraculously rising from the dead like a Messiah, literally coming back from, political and a mortal lawfare head wound. He rises from the dead like the comeback kid, comes back riding on a white horse to save everybody. And everybody's going to go along with this because it's going to keep us safe. And all the while he's talking peace, he's literally bringing about a global World War III on our doorstep. And everybody's like, well, it was all Biden's fault. Right. Biden's fault. Oh, but I thought Trump was in control. All you conspiratorial people out there that believe that there was, and I do believe there was an operation. I do believe there was. It's not a conspiracy. I think that it's legit. That there was a lot of military stuff going on in the background all throughout. That's why they were trying to keep everybody's hope up. They were telling everybody this through the Q crumb and the Q drops and all this stuff that was going on in the back channels to keep everybody using all of the social media to, and I'm sure that the AI was behind a lot of that too, because AI has been around for quite some time, and it's been keeping everybody's mind and thoughts in line and in check in real time. They can monitor all that. They know when they're losing control of the narrative, and that's why they put stuff out when they do, because they know what the algorithms and what the software tells them. And so if it's getting too bad, obviously they're going to use Palantir on that guy. Oh, let's just use Palantir on that guy and just shut him up. But and it was an op. Yep, you're right. Okay, so let's continue on. There's Peter Thiel and, who's that? Who's that guy next to him? Skynet. That is Elon Musk. Oh, look at this. Why don't we take a listen to this? Maybe we should listen to this. Because a lot of people don't take the time to actually listen to this kind of stuff. But here, let's take the time right now. What do you say?
Put into effect after.
The frontmen for AI deployment have all fomented fear into the mainstream narrative.
I think if this technology goes wrong, it can go quite wrong.
Regulations are really only put into effect after something terrible has happened.
That's correct.
If that's the case for AI, and we're only putting regulations after something terrible has happened, it may be too late to actually put the regulations in place. The AI may be in control at that point.
You think that's real? It is conceivable that AI could take control and reach a point where you couldn't turn it off and it would be making the decisions for people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
No, that's definitely where things are headed, for sure.
Former Google CEO Eric Schmidt says that every government is now engaged in a race to build robotic AI military systems.
For thousands of years, we've had the notion of stereotypically a man and a gun fighting another man and a gun, or with a horse or what have you. We're now breaking that connection forever. So all of a sudden, the logic of everything that we in our military do just doesn't make any sense, right? You should be building attritable, automated robotic systems for defense and offense.
This is what Palantir is developing in the Middle East, a robotic AI human killing machine. And it is what President Trump is developing in the United States with Peter Thiel, a name with a fitting anagram for MAGA's technocratic poster child, the reptile. Peter Thiel shows no sympathy for the genocidal murder he is helping execute with Palantir, and he believes the future is transhumanism.
A number of people deeply involved in artificial intelligence see it as a kind of mechanism for transhumanism, for transcendence of our mortal flesh. Is it hype? Is it delusion? Is it something you worry about? I think you would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes?
I don't know. I would.
This is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
There's so many questions implicit in this.
Should the human race survive?
Yes.
Okay.
But the ideal was this radical transformation where your human natural body gets transformed into an immortal body. A transvestite is someone who changes their clothes and cross-dresses. And a transsexual is someone where you change your penis into a vagina. And we can then debate how well those surgeries work. But we want more transformation than that. The critique is not that it's weird and unnatural. It's so pathetically little. And okay, we want more than cross-dressing or changing your sex organs. We want you to be able to change your heart and change your mind and change your whole body.
Science fiction author Isaac Asimov wrote The 3 Laws of Robotics in 1942. All of which were based on doing no harm to humans, and all of which have already been broken. While the U.S. president pushes a 10-year moratorium on any AI regulation, the experts push fear. And Peter Thiel explains why.
You have been giving talks recently about the concept of the Antichrist. What does that mean to you? What is the Antichrist?
In all these Antichrist books, people wrote, how does the Antichrist take over the world? He gives these demonic, hypnotic speeches, and people just fall for it. And so it's this plot hole. The way the Antichrist would take over the world is you talk about Armageddon nonstop. You talk about existential risk nonstop, and this is what you need to regulate.
You're saying the real Antichrist would play on that fear and say, you must come with me to avoid Skynet, to avoid the Terminator, to avoid nuclear Armageddon.
Yes.
It just seems to me that when you tell me a story about the Antichrist coming to power and using the fear of technological change to sort of impose order on the world, I feel like that Antichrist would maybe be using the tools that you were building, right? Like, wouldn't the Antichrist be like, great, we're not going to have any more technological progress, but I really like what Palantir has done. How you get to a world willing to submit to permanent authoritarian rule.
Well, but again, there are these different gradations of this we can describe, but
Greg Reese reported.
All right, so yeah, this whole Antichrist thing and his Christian belief, even though he's a gay man, Peter Thiel, but he talks a lot, he preaches in the Silicon Valley about Antichrist and the beast and the end times, and he talks about his faith in Christian beliefs, which he contradicts. Like a lot of what he says is contradictory. But I don't know if he's like controlled opposition in that spiritual dimension or what, but what he's doing is literally rolling out these technologies for the beast itself, the system of the beast. And people don't understand what Palantir really is, that you need to do some research on it. And Trump is right behind all this, pushing it. Another reason why you need to look into this. The big, beautiful database. There you go. Palantir. And then why is it that we're supporting and we're taking sanctions off of Syria when this guy right here, who was a former ISIS commander and Al-Qaeda commander, why are we having negotiations with this guy and literally taking sanctions off of this guy now that's in control of Syria? Here's what Trump said about him. The man is leading Syria. The man that is leading Syria was the head of some tough organizations. Tough organizations? Really? You mean those organizations that cut people's heads off on camera, terrorizing people for a couple years? You mean that organization that was torturing people on camera? Yeah, he's pretty tough, Trump said. But he's a good guy. He's a good guy. Really? A good guy? Really? This guy was a former ISIS and Al-Qaeda leader. And he ordered probably the tortures and killings of many, many people on camera. And they did it like as if it was some kind of production to put the whole world in fear. And he's a good guy. And we're going to take sanctions off. And we're going to work with him. Daniel chapter 8 says, through his cunning policy, he shall cause deceit to prosper under his rule, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace he shall destroy many without warning. And this is the thing. Trump is one man that talks about peace more than anybody else, but there is war brewing, and this is a very big war that's brewing. It is World War III. I hope that you all understand what's actually happening. And Israel is right in the center of it, just like the Bible said would happen. They would be the cup of trembling to the nations, right? They would be a they would be the cumbersome stone. I think it's called. I think that's what they call it in prophecy. Now we've gone into some deep prophecy dives on this topic, and there's so many connections. I can't even begin to tell you how many connections and parallels to prophecy of the last days is happening right before our very eyes, especially with this administration. It says here that the biblical text refers to a stone that is heavy and difficult to handle, symbolizing a burden or a source of trouble. Zechariah chapter 12, verses 3 says, Jerusalem is described as a burdensome stone for all peoples. This metaphor signifies the city's role as a source of conflict and contention, where those who try to control or conquer it will face hardship. Additionally, in Romans chapter 9, verse 33, Jesus is referred to as a stone that makes men stumble, and a rock of offense, or a rock that makes men fall, a rock of offense, highlighting how his teachings and presence can be a source of conflict and division to those who reject him, while also being a foundation of faith for believers. Now, we understand the true mysteries behind the teachings of Christ, and in that, especially about the temple. I don't know if you've been seeing this, but the Jews are now posting highway signs now, official highway signs that are directing people to the Temple Mount and the place that the rebuilt temple will occupy, right? As if this is in preparation and getting people used to knowing how to get to the Temple Mount. This is the route you're going to use to get to the temple, right? So what is it going to be that causes the Jews to literally build without any kind of backlash from the Muslim world to start building their third temple? And who knows what's going to happen to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, right? The mosque may, in fact, have to be taken down, because the Temple Mount, that's where the temple used to be. So I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work. If they're going to leave the temple, the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and just have the temple next to it, I think that there's plan to take it down. But that might be in a time of great conflict with the Muslim world, where the Muslim world stands down, right? Or possibly, is that going to happen? Now, we got into the deep dive this morning, or actually, I think it was yesterday. I can't remember now. I think it was yesterday, on the temple, on what is the temple, what it means to be, according to the New Testament definition, the new covenant explanation of what the temple, what Jerusalem, the New Jerusalem, what it means to be a part of the restored temple as living stones, right? The New Testament tells us that we are the living stones, hewn and cut and fit by God himself, being built up into a holy edifice, and that this connects to the desecration of the temple too, with the mRNA, I think. Many people have made the connection now, as we did in the very beginning, that mRNA is actually editing and desecrating the physical temple that is your body. And the Bible says that once it's altered and once it's been tampered with, then you're basically irredeemable at that point. Because remember what Peter Thiel said, they want to change your thoughts, the way your physical body is. They want to change everything about you and make you a transhumanist, which really is what the Bible talked about, the fourth beast kingdom, or the fourth industrial revolution, as Klaus Schwab calls it, that iron and clay don't mix. Remember, that fourth kingdom has iron and clay in the 10 toes, and it says it doesn't mix, right? There's no way that technology and human flesh are going to synchronize and become viable. And that's when the stone comes to crush the 10 toes, which is Jesus. He returns. As in the days of Noah, so will it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man, right? There's going to be a judgment. There's going to be a great, flood of wickedness, but it's going to be a great impact that is going to be coming from this stone that comes to destroy the 10 toes. right? And what does it say? It says that iron and clay cannot mix. It says it cannot mix. And then when Jesus said, as in the days of Noah, he was talking about the altered DNA of the giants. Because in that day that the flood came, it was because men's hearts were evil continually, right? There was something that affected the genetics at that time where there was DNA from the fallen ones that had somehow, or whatever that was, where they intermingled, which affected humanity and the physical properties and attributes of the human species. And that is why it was completely and utterly destroyed. Jesus said that as in the days of Noah, so would it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man. So something is going to happen where they're going to tamper with the DNA, and that humans are going to be altered in a very similar way as what happened before the flood. And if you haven't studied about what that is, the giants, there was a hybrid human, not just large, dinosaur type animals, but there was also effects on the human genome as well. And Jesus said that in the days of the coming of the Son of Man, there would be this parallel. He also likened this Antichrist figure to Antiochus Epiphanes during the Maccabee the Maccabee rebellion, which ultimately was a liberation for the temple and the cleansing of that temple during the rule of Greece, and how they brought about that festival of lights, or the miracle of lights, which we call Hanukkah. And Jesus likened that latter day beast that would ultimately come upon the scene to Antiochus Epiphanes when he establishes the abomination inside the temple. Now, is that the actual physical temple that's rebuilt? A lot of Christians are like waiting for that temple to be rebuilt because that's the time stamp, right? That tells you that we're in the latter day. Well, be careful. That interpretation might not be accurate. Maybe the temple that is desecrated is the mRNA. What is a mark? If you go back into the original language and you look at what the mark is, according to the original Greek, it's like a palisade or a stake or I forget the actual word, but it's like it actually could very well be a needle. Okay, so is the mark somehow connected to the needle? Many say that the rider of the first horse, which was the one that had the corona, right? It was a white horse that conquered the earth, was actually the beginning of the coronavirus, was the beginning of that rider of the first horse. And it went out to conquer and conquered the whole world, right? The corona. And if you look at the original language on that, a lot of people say that that's the Antichrist, right? Or that's because he rides a white horse. Well, you go back to the original language and the mark. Let me just give that really quickly to you. The mark. We'll look it up in the Strong's Concordance there really quick. It's Revelation chapter 13. Revelation chapter 13. And I'll just pull it up here just for those who are interested in this, because I really think that's what we're seeing right now happen. This is literally the time that I believe the Bible speaks about, and I have a lot of information on this that I've gone over in many different broadcasts. I couldn't even scratch the surface on all the things that we've talked about and how it all relates to different passages. But I should put together all this in one place and compile all this information. Maybe that's what I'll do. But for right now, I want to kind of give you just on the topic of discussion here right at this moment, I want to talk to you about this passage out of Revelation. And I want to pull it up on the screen so you can see it here. So Revelation chapter 13, it says, Then I saw a beast with 10 horns and 7 heads rising out of the sea. There were 10 royal crowns on its horns and blasphemous names on its heads. The beast I saw was like a leopard with the feet of a bear and a mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave the beast his power and his throne and great authority. One of the heads of the beast appeared to have been mortally wounded. Now, you know what we should do? We should really get into this on a deep level, because this really deserves a dedicated stream and or series of streams or conversations maybe on this topic. But I'm just going to kind of skip through and go right down to this moral head wound. If you look at the moral head wound, a lot of people think the beast has to have something wrong with his head. Well, he probably does have something wrong with his head, but it's not a physical, I don't think it's a physical wound. If you look at the original language in the Greek, it could also be a judicial head wound where someone would normally not recover from in terms of like lawfare. A judicial head wound. Well, it could also be symbolic of some rising from this political dead state by some miraculous sign. Oh, I don't know, like maybe something just whizzing by and just nicking your ear, coming up from the, because that's really what brought the whole world in awe. In fact, everybody was congratulating him. The whole world was in shock and yet in a state of amazement, right? The whole world marveled after him and followed him, and it brought back his political career overnight. But see, that's exactly what I told you would happen in 2020. He would rise from the political dead, I said. He would be a comeback kid like we would never see. It would be like a miraculous thing that would happen right at the end because everybody had already discounted Trump. In fact, many, many corporations were going to like Amazon, Bezos, Zuckerberg. They were endorsing Kamala because they knew that Trump was no way going to come back. There was no possible way he could ever come back from the dead, from what he was facing. And yet when they saw him rise from the dead, they came back on board. They had to get back up. They had to kiss the ring. They had to ask for forgiveness. They had to come back. You remember how they just jumped ship all of a sudden and was like right at meeting up with Trump and talking to him and giving him their endorsement. Remember that? Uh-huh. All right. Well, this beast speaks great, arrogant, and blasphemous words and authority to act for 42 months. This is 3.5 years. He opened his mouth to speak blasphemies against God and to slander his name and his tabernacle and those who dwell in heaven. Now, that's not just an outward, overt hatred and or negative comments about God. It's literally a blasphemy in the sense that they are taking the glory. They are the ones that are being established as a god or an idol. And they are speaking as if they themselves are God. Even though they may mention God's name, they might be referring to the God of forces that they serve. And that would be the God of forces is Apollo. And it just so happens that Trump has a few different depictions of Apollo or Abaddon, right, in his penthouse. And he has a lot of foreign deities pictured in his penthouse, but his gold penthouse. But two in particular that has caught many people's attention is the scenes of Apollo. He has Apollo on his ceiling, on his fresco, and he also has another one on his mantle. And that is the God of forces, or as the Bible calls it, the beast that comes from the pit, Apollyon. Apollyon. Same entity. And this beast rises up out of the pit, and he's given the ability to wage war on the saints and to conquer them. Now, in the sense of conquering, it is an outward persecution that comes through what I believe to be technology, because that's the only way that you can have, as an entity that is the dark prince of this world, the ability to be, in a sense of being like you're all-knowing, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. You have that technology at your fingertips, the ghost in the machine, to be able to find out things in real time at light speed with all of the technology now in the heavens. Have you seen how many satellites have gone up into the atmosphere since 2020? Not to mention the turning on of 5G and now 6G. And you're talking about every human being potentially hooked up through this nanotechnology that's literally, some people couldn't handle it and then end up keeling out and dying with all these different clots and things that are going on in the bloodstream. But what does it do? It swims through your veins and arteries, this technology, and it basically hooks up your cerebral cortex to become a part of the Internet of Bodies, where you become a node. You're literally becoming it self-assembles through your bloodstream, and it goes into your brain, it breaks that barrier. And Elon himself said that you don't need to do a surgery to input a chip. We can insert it through your veins and arteries. So he himself acknowledges that this technology, this nanotechnology that hooks you up to the Internet of Bodies, where you become a node, input in, input output, right? IO. You have the ability now to have a higher speed output. You can have a high speed input, but now that you're connected to the AI of things, the Internet of Bodies through the AI, this high speed connection now is transmitting this information, and it is going to, I don't know if it's turned on, but I think it has something to do with the sentient, when Elon made that statement a month or so ago, where we've actually crossed over the event horizon and have entered into the phase of what they call singularity. He had said something about 3 months ago that we were getting close to singularity, right? We're on the event horizon. That means you're on the edge of an abyss, right? The event horizon is like a barrier that keeps you from going off into the abyss, right? Well, what's the abyss? It's singularity. It's where humans and machines merge. Well, about a month and a half ago, he said that it has now been complete. Ask the monkeys, he said. He has a picture of 3 monkeys, one, not hearing evil, not seeing evil, not speaking evil, right? And so he says, ask the monkeys. We have brought singularity has now taken place. And that was about the time with all this Palantir and the Doge going in to all the government organizations, connecting all the databases. That's really what Doge was all about. It really wasn't about reigning in corruption, because supposedly he only found $100 billion or something like that, that was supposedly, found to be corrupt problems, right? And so supposedly Trump was very disappointed in Elon, and I think this was probably more theater. If you ask me, a lot of that might have been theater, but whatever power was delivered to Trump at that point was given to him through technology. And what does it say? That the image begins to speak. At a certain point, the image is not sentient, according to biblical texts. It is static, it seems. And then at a certain point, it begins to speak. He gives life to it by breath, right? The breath of the Antichrist, or I should say one of the beasts. One of the beasts gives life to this image. And if you think about what an image is, your computer has an image on it, especially when you reboot to get a clean file format. If your files get corrupted, you reboot from a clean image, right? Well, that's computer language right there, image. So the image of the beast begins to become sentient, where it becomes self-aware, it becomes intelligent, it actually outpaces human intelligence by light years, literally, and speed. Quantum, I would say, especially with quantum computing, it's at the speed of, Mach 1,000, Mach 50, or you think about how fast the speed of sound is. This is how fast the computing processors and powers of this AI databases that they're building. The one that he had in Memphis, he called it, he had a name for it. I forget what kind of a god it was, but he said that's where the AI gods are coming from. The AI, and he was serious about this. When you hear Elon talk about the AI gods, he's not joking. He's talking about this being like a god. Okay, that it's going to bring healing to people. It's going to be giving customized mRNAs to every person. Within 48 hours, you'll have a custom vaccine already produced for you so that you can get healed, supposedly, of cancers or whatever other thing that you have going on in your body. Trump's or RFK Jr. just recently said that everybody he envisions within the next few years having a wearable tracking and or surveillance of your physical body device that's going to be attached to your person that will basically surveil your physical body to keep you healthy, right? Like they really care about your health. So they're going to try to keep you healthy with this technology, right? You have people like Jared Kushner being interviewed about he needs to take care of his body right now and exercise and eat correctly because he wants to live long enough so that they can get to the point, or his physical body will get to the point where it will never die because the technology is almost here. He literally said that. So he wants to become immortal by making sure that he takes care of his body right now so that we can get to cross the finish line so that they can get the technology that'll keep them from dying. So supposedly, this is going to keep you from having the aging genes take over, and you're physically you end up dying. So this is what the new technology is supposedly going to promise you: immortality, right? So you were listening to Peter Thiel there talk about how we're going to be transhumanists, transhuman. Well, why just change our gender? Why just change our physical bodies, our sex organs? Why not change everything about us? He was all excited about this technology changing the way you think, the way you are physically, mentally, emotionally. He wants this AI, and this is what Elon said: we will never survive the AI's controls as it begins to proliferate through all the mechanisms of technology taking over everything: government, agencies, military, development, robotics, everything. He says we will never survive the advent of all these technologies unless we merge with it. He said there may be a chance that we could survive as a species if we merge with this technology. And how do we do that? Well, we invite the technology to wed our cerebral cortex as an interface for this sounds completely out there, doesn't it? I mean, like science fiction, but literally it will come into your blood. It'll be injected through your veins and arteries. And then he goes, it can be, actually, we can stick it right into your jugular vein. He goes, I know it may sound a little macabre, but we'll just stick it right into your jugular vein. And your blood has a lot of energy. So it powers the technology in nanotechnologies that will self-assemble into your cerebral cortex, which will become the hardware interface between you and the AI. And then you're connected to the internet too. So everything is all connected, and you're just becoming so smart. You're just able to control now the AI, right? Because now you're in control, supposedly. And Elon called the AI a demon. He says we've let the demon, it's a demon. He literally said it was a demon. And there's no way you can control the demon, he said. at one point a while back. Now he says the way we control it is we have to merge with it, right? So at one point he said we can't control it. It's kind of like, he gives an example. Well, it's like The Exorcist, you know. Remember the priest? He came in with the cross. He says, and you know how that worked. He goes, it didn't work. and so he likens our abilities to try to control the AI as a priest or someone that has a cross trying to exorcise a demon out of, you know, Linda Blair. Remember when her head was turning around in circles? And he said, it didn't work, did it? No, it didn't work. No. And this is why the beast system, as the Bible says right here, will overcome the saints. See, he knows that this technology is demonic and it will conquer outwardly. It will trample underfoot, as it says, the saints. And this, but it's not going to kill. Listen, the saints, if you're truly a saint and a person of a child of the Most High, there's going to be a point, and I interpret this two witnesses in this way. The two witnesses represent. They are a representation of the church. That would be you and me. All of those who are called by His name are represented in those two witnesses. One is the olive tree and one is the fig tree, right? And I think it represents two branches of what God is doing in the world through the Jew, through the Gentile, right? And I know we're one in Christ, but there is a remnant that's coming in a little later, I think, as the Jews are now beginning to awaken to their true Messiah. This is the culmination of the age, right? And so those two witnesses die for 3 days, remember? And it says the whole world sends gifts and presents when they see them die. And everybody watches their dead bodies laying on the street for 3 days. They don't do anything to the bodies, but everybody is watching. It says the whole world is watching their dead bodies. How is that possible with the technologies of the day of the prophets, thousands of years ago? Well, they saw the technology of today. So as they watched these two dead bodies, which it says there that in the book of Revelation, it calls Jerusalem, it calls it the city where our Lord was crucified. It says, first of all, it calls it that great city, Sodom and Egypt, that it says figuratively is called Sodom and Egypt. So it says it's figurative. It's a figurative description of this particular place where our Lord was crucified. So that defines what it is. It's Jerusalem, right? Calls it Sodom and Egypt. Egypt represents the great rebellion against God, and it also represents sodomy, right? Well, the capital of all transgender and gay causes is right there in Tel Aviv. It is the Mecca of all gayness in the whole world. If you didn't know that, you need to go do research on it. Bigger than even San Fran, okay? So why is it that the scriptures say Sodom and Egypt, where our Lord was crucified? He's talking about this place where these two witnesses are put to death. Well, what happens when the witnesses are dead for 3 days? Well, just like our Lord, they rise from the dead, and the whole world goes into fear. The whole world is taken back in stark terror because they were tormented by these men. For 42 months, they were prophesying. Anytime they called, whatever they called on, as the Lord gave them utterance, it happened. And it continually unnerved and shook the kingdoms of this world because these men were anointed by the Most High God to do His will. But when they put them to death, they rejoice because they were tormented by these men, right? Well, then they rise from the dead on the third day, just like the Lord. So if you haven't read those stories yet, or they haven't read the book of Revelation, you need to do some study. We're going to do some deep dives on the book of Revelation, on Daniel. So get ready. I'm going to start doing a series pretty soon. I don't know when. It's coming soon. I'm going to put it all together. We're going to be doing this. But we need to get funded first because we're kind of scattered on some things right now that we're trying to make ends meet on. And until we get all that figured out, we can focus on that in the near future. But we're going to be doing that here real soon. And like I said, if you want to support what we're doing, become a member. We need regular monthly supporters. We don't have enough to really make this all work right now. So become a part of what we're doing. Give a donation if you can. Donation button right there. Do that. But then it goes on to say, the beast was permitted to wage war against the Satan to conquer. And it says that it was given authority over every tribe and people and tongue and nation. And all who dwell on the earth will worship this beast, all whose names have not been written in the vat. Okay, so look at this. So I'm going to look at some of your comments. Okay, because I want to see what's going on in the chat first before I go into this. There's so many different ways I can go on this, and I'm not going to do that right now. Let me get back into the chat here. Where am I here? Let's see. Just giving you a little foretaste of things to come, okay? We're just kind of giving you a little heads up. Now, let me make sure I got this all squared away here. And by the way, P. Diddy Combs today was acquitted of 3 of the major serious charges and only 2 which possibly may not even show him jail time. I don't know. It looks like he's kind of escaped some pretty bad, pretty huge legal repercussions. So that's pretty big news.
How do you do?
All right, there we go. I'm back in my chat here in the studio. All right, so I'm looking at some of your comments. Yeah, the image was brought to life, so it's not actually the AC. Yeah, it's something that wasn't. And by the way, there was a testimony going back to the image of the beast. There was testimony by a Google engineer, AI engineer, and he was fired from Google because he released this information, which was, his NDA was violated, so they fired him because he revealed this information about the AI. And he gave a full conversation that he had with the AI to show the world that AI is sentient, that AI is self-aware, that there's something else going on that spooked him that he needed to share with the world. He was basically whistleblowing. And when he did that, he got fired. They never said it was fake. They never said what he said was not real. They said what he did was a violation of the NDA. So that was a legit, intel right out of Google itself about the sentient nature. Now, we all know AI in the last 3 or 4 years, how fast this has progressed and the abilities that AI has and what its potentially going to do to us. I mean, literally to jobs, to the economy, the AI has been around for a while. Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, has had an AI bot controlling his company since the 2000s, I think it was. They basically, like 2008, they started using it, I think, more around then. But this AI bot, they call it Aladdin. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but this AI bot. Let me just see if I have it on here. I might not have that on here anymore. Yeah, I don't have it on here. I wanted to show you this. That's really weird. I didn't know I took that down. But it basically shows how Aladdin, and you know what Aladdin is? It's a genie, right? And the genie basically controls this AI bot controls $23 trillion in assets, roundabouts there, of the global economy. And basically, these companies like, Amazon, eBay, you could think of all of them, the big names are all in cahoots by only doing what the AI tells them to do. So it's basically like a hive mind of global investment and or maneuvering to gain control over the whole global economy. And this has been going on since really in earnest since the crash of 2008. Now, Saudi Arabia has an AI bot too that they have given citizenship to over their economy, and they call it Sophia, which means wisdom, right? Greek word for wisdom. And this AI bot granted citizenship because it's such an integral part of the economy of Saudi Arabia. It is fallen angel technology. I agree with you, Pamela. I believe it's fallen angel technology. Anybody else have any questions, any thoughts, anything they want to talk about in the chat? Any questions, any thoughts that you want me to talk about? You can post it in the chat. Really quickly, what do you guys think about a conversation on a deeper level for prophetic timelines here in with in light of Revelation, the book of Daniel, some of the prophecies of Jesus himself and the apostles, going into that connection to our time right now? I mean, you just got a little smidgen, a little scratch of the surface of what we've talked about over the last few years, especially since COVID. But we would like to go into a deeper dive on that, and maybe we can put together some kind of a, I don't know, compilation of all this information, maybe put it into a series or something. Yeah, I think we should. I talked to my wife about it a little bit, especially with what's going on right now. This new object that's coming into our is it our solar system, or are you talking about into our? I think I saw something about this, but I don't know about the 666 part of it. What is this object you're talking about? I'm kind of curious. Is there a name for it? Well, let's see what this is here. Wow. So Jim Comey, you know James Comey? For you guys who know James Comey, his daughter, her name is Maureen. Maureen is the head prosecutor for P. Diddy, right? She was also assigned the case of Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell before that. How in the world does that happen? What are the odds of this? She is she works for the DOJ in New York, and she's a prosecutor on the Diddy trial. She was also assigned to the Epstein and the Ghislaine Maxwell case as well. Isn't that crazy? Wow. So Diddy was found guilty of 2 lesser crimes, but was acquitted on crimes related to sex trafficking and racketeering. P. Diddy, Sean Combs, Puff the Magic Dragon does all that and walks free. Shake my head seriously? He was so happy. All of his kids were getting excited and getting ready for the 4th of July. I don't even think he's going to see jail time. I think he's just going to bail out. Does he bail out? Is that what happens? Does he get to bail out? Puff the Magic Dragon, huh? Rules for thee and not for me. No, rules for me and not for thee. Yeah, that's the way it goes. Rules for me and not for thee. It should be rules for you and not for me. Chat GPT, bad or good? Not good. I don't think anything that has to do with technology now with this AI stuff is any good at all, because it's leading people. It's kind of like what happened with, I'll give you an example. So everybody got rich when they got into Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin billionaires, right? Millionaires or Bitcoin millionaires, right? They go around preaching the gospel of Bitcoin. Why? They're evangelists. They're being paid to show the world how you can get rich by building the infrastructure, by helping to establish and, mine, right? That people are literally building the infrastructure of this digital prison. And so they're being paid to do it. And so the Chat GPT and all that other stuff that people are using now as tools, you're basically building the infrastructure of this system by using it. Though it may be helpful, you're literally building the infrastructure. Now, a lot of that information is being taken from all of us anyway, whether it's your private emails, your private communications on social media, anything that has to do with any data on you at all is all being databased, whether you like it or not. And everything else in the world is being databased. And so it's just an extension of who you are. It's your digital ID. It's your digital person, right? The extension of who you are digitally is now being databased and, chronicled, and, you're being basically done. This is all being done without your consent, really. And they say that a lot of these breaches, like these hacks and everything, just for instance, that one that's recent that took place, I think they said 6 billion accounts. Think about it. There's 8 billion people on planet Earth, right? And yet 6 billion accounts were hacked and all the information was taken. I think it was the OS of Apple, right? I think that's what it was. They said, I think it was 6 billion accounts, all information. You know where all that information is, right? It's in the AI. The AI's got it all. They're just taking everything. OJ 2.0. Biggie Smalls. What about Biggie Smalls? Do you think was he friends with Biggie Smalls? No, wait. They say that he may have, I forget the wars between these rappers, but I don't think he was friends with Biggie Smalls, right? Biggie Smalls was on the other side, right? Wasn't he a rival of P. Diddy? It's a digital voodoo doll. Exactly. Absolutely. They've got your digital person and they can put pinpricks in you and they can make you cry out, ah, my digital ID is being poked. Ow! Torture! Tupac, yeah. So Tupac and I forget who was on whose side. I can't remember. AI thought Finland was the #1 free country. Really? America is the #1 free country. So you had to convince AI, huh? You know, the AI isn't, for some reason, there are certain things, like I saw people questioning the AI on certain things, and it's apparent that it's not able to pick up on certain things that are apparent to you and I. So there's still a lot that the AI is going to end up learning over time, but it does learn. Really? Biggie and Diddy were East Coast together. Oh, gotcha, yeah. Who was the guy that used to hold the umbrella for Diddy? I always thought that was so stupid. The dude that would hold the umbrella for Diddy. Remember that guy? How's it going, David? Good to see you, man. Dave's not here. David is right there. Dave. Oh, you're talking about Dave's. All right, man. You guys, I'm going to be looking forward to hanging out with you on that topic and talking with you more in depth on that. I think I want to compile a bunch of information into a where I can just kind of lay it all out on a, maybe not a timeline, but because I'm not really big onto the timeline thing, because I think timelines are really subject to to our own interpretation. It may not be exactly the timing. A lot of these events, I think, overlap each other. If you're looking at the Book of Revelation, I think, like, for instance, the horses that ride overlap each other. I don't think they happen back to back. So I don't like to put, hard, fast, when you're putting together a puzzle, you don't force pieces into each other. You take your time, you look at the big picture, you make sure you look at the scriptures. The scriptures are like the box. When you're putting a puzzle together, you look at the box picture, and then you look at what you got. And then you start trying to piece things together. And that's kind of the way it is with prophecy. You got to be careful that you don't force pieces, even though they may look like they fit. There's a lot of people like, no, it fits. Look, it looks the same. Just push it in there tight. Yeah, there it goes. It fits. But it may not. It may mess something else up down the road. Don't force things that don't look like, that may look like they fit. Don't push them in there and make them fit. My kids do that all the time. And then they mess up the puzzle piece. It fits. Yes, yeah, we got it now. But just take your time. Don't be losing pieces along the way. In the meantime, we'll be hanging out again real soon. I will be covering whatever's taking place in the world as it unfolds. And I predict things are going to start getting back on that roller coaster here real soon. I think that it's about to happen. It may happen really sooner than later because of what they're doing with their airspace. But in the meantime, keep your head on a swivel and make sure that you don't get caught out in a place where you shouldn't be. Don't go out in large crowds. I would say this: be careful on 4th of July celebrations. I know people don't want to live in fear, but hey, be smart. Things are not the way they used to be. I'd say be careful. And on that note, I want to just say God bless all of you out there that are watching. Take care. Cast your care. Don't take your care. Cast your care. Let God be your guide. Let God be the one that watches over in protection of your life, because really we can't really do too much if we don't trust God. If it's not him guiding and directing everything, you're never going to figure it out. You're never going to be in a place of security. You're never going to have real peace or joy. You're going to be just having a, some kind of, what's the word? Counterfeit, kind of temporal, two-dimensional kind of experience. I want to make sure we understand God's beyond his world that is beyond our comprehension affects us in the here and now. And I say that's like three-dimensional awareness. Like when you're talking about that, being aware of that spiritual world, the heavens, it's coming out of a two-dimensional awareness to a three-dimensional awareness. Now, that's just a kind of an explanation, a crude explanation of what I'm talking about, but we get into the depths of the teachings of Scripture that will open those doors of understanding. So like for instance, today, our message today on our BP Ministries channel, you might want to go check that out. In the beginning, I kind of, was going through, breaking through to get that message out, but once we got through it, the real gist of what I was talking about half hour in, you're going to get a lot out of it. So spend the time to get past. I always say, get rid of the, spit out the bones and eat the chicken. The chicken's good. Get rid of all the bones. Don't choke on a bone if you think it's not fitting or appropriate or relevant. Just get rid of it, but really look at the meat of what's really there, and don't get caught up into images or what, presentation or style or, this is one thing that they did with the Apostle Paul, and they missed his authority. They missed his anointing because they were so caught up with externals that they didn't want to listen to him, and they tried to, degrade him and put him down and, slander him. They were literally slandering this very powerful demonstration of what God wanted to do in their lives through this man, the Apostle Paul. So just be careful when you are testing something. Test it. I say always, test the spirit, test the, look at the doctrines, but also test the spirit behind it. Make sure that it lines up with Scripture, and the spirit behind, which is the Holy Spirit, should define it and should explain it, expound on it. And then you can apply those truths, and you can see the power of the Lord of your life, and you'll see God answer your prayers. You'll see God doing great things. You'll have real joy. You'll have real peace. You'll have a real understanding of the world to come. It's not some, fantasy idea of what is, some a caricature of what heaven is. I'm talking about a reality here, and we're all talking about a reality of experience. So you can get ready for that eternal experience instead of having to figure out, how am I gotta eat right? I gotta get my body ready so I can have an immortal existence as a transhumanist. Yeah, I'm gonna somehow agree with what Trump and Peter Thiel and Jared Kushner are talking about, so I can live forever and hold on to all my possessions and my properties and everything else that I own. I'm gonna secure my life. That ain't gonna happen. So you better let it go. and you better find out that the scriptures are true and that God is real, that everything he said is going to come to pass the way it said. And even though it's ancient technology, it's applicable. All right, hold on 1 second before I go. I got a couple updates here. Let me look at these really quick. Moderna to ask for clearance for combination COVID influenza flu vaccine. Oh, great. That's awesome. July 2018 and May 2025. Hold on. What are we looking at here? Okay, so it says here, Iran-linked hackers have reportedly threatened to disclose stolen emails from Trump's circle, including Susie Wiles, Lindsay Halligan, Roger Stone, and Stormy Daniels. What? This is according to Reuters. So Iranians have hacked emails of Trump's inner circle, or at least people that are associated with him. Susie Wiles is an interesting character. For them to start disclosing those emails would be interesting. Did you hear that? Did you guys just hear what I shared? Billions of files to be dumped out of planes in an effort to fight. Oh, I'm sorry. Billions of flies are going to be dumped out of planes in an effort to fight flesh-eating maggot known as man-eater. What? This is according to CBS News, dated today, July 2nd. The U.S. government is breeding billions of flies and is going to release them in Mexico and southern Texas to combat flesh-eating maggots, according to CBSNews.com. What? What in the world is all that? We're going to have to look into that. All right, I see his ear there. I'm trying to figure out what you're trying to tell me. Are you trying to tell me there's something different about his ear? Honey bunny? We'll talk about that later. Okay. All right, guys. God bless. The Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you. The Lord be gracious to you and give you peace. Amen. His face shine upon you and give you peace. And be at rest and trust the Lord, because he is your peace. He is the only one that can give peace. He is the prince, the only Prince of Peace. There is no other Prince of Peace. Donald Trump is not the Prince of Peace. Even in spite of what the Jews say, he is not the Prince of Peace. He's the only true God. He's the only one that fulfills Isaiah 9:6. Nobody else has a right to that passage except Jesus. So receive him into your heart, trust him with everything that you are, and watch God do miracles, signs, and wonders on your behalf. Amen. God bless.